In the end, I have a message for these 4 war criminals. 3 of them you can see in the picture, they are Israelis or Zionists, and the war criminals and from the blood of those innocent kids and those newborns killed in the incubator and those whose parents have collected their limbs and teeth, nose, and their bodies cut, their kidneys and things they removed for transplants or experimentation or trying to identify their hostages. There has never been even an animal digging up this. If you see a baby elephant die, you will never see such a cruelty, how these 3 people, and they could have never been able to do it without the largest criminal who's funded this crime and who is proud to be a Zionist. So I think now you face this, and in the end you will see that yourself, that you have woken up the whole world. Look at the youngsters, the students from all across the world. Can you now suppress? Have you gained anything? Have you caught any of your hostages, got them released, or you got any of the Hamas leaders? So accept your failures and sacrifice. Offer your sacrifice yourself, so that your whatever left is of Israel is, and I'm talking of Jewish Israel, not the Zionists, and of United States, of I don't know, I should call it states, or the colors of as there is a CNN program, the United Colors of the America. So if you want to save 250 million Americans country in whatever little form, because it doesn't just belong to white supremacists or Zionists as self-claimed this is, or African Americans or Asian or Hispanics. It belongs to all of you who live in there. So I think you should voluntarily sacrifice Joe Biden and who funded this, and without the approval of the Congress, supplied bombs and missiles, and I think the Israelis should do and voluntarily gave these 3 people to the Interpol so that they can rot in the jail, and all those innocent kids and the women and the civilians, the blood. And all those universities, they have demolished the hospitals, they have demolished the people, they have starved. At least that is with some satisfaction to the whole world that humanity is still alive.
Were there not an Israel, the United States of America would have to invent an Israel to protect her interest in the region.
If I were a Jew, I would be a Zionist. As a matter of fact, you don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist.
I have had the view for the past 24 years that the only way in which there will be peace in the Middle East is when the Arab nations know there is no division between the United States and Israel.
What my record has been, it has been unstinted in the defense and support of Israel.
The United States has never and will never lose our resolve. Israel will never waver. I'm never going to leave Israel.
For the past 6 months, the images of a genocide out of Gaza have gripped the world. Razed neighborhood after razed neighborhood, mass grave after mass grave, mass slaughter after mass slaughter. Fathers carrying their children's body parts in plastic bags, mothers screaming, looking for whatever remains of their families, children left without limbs, without faces.
What did these children do wrong? What crime did they commit to deserve tons of bombs on their heads?
While the genocide of the Palestinians is carried out by the state and military of Israel, the United States, under the leadership of President Joe Biden, has played the role of its sponsor.
The defense of Israel is still critical, so there's no red line.
We are not going to create any conditions on the support that we are giving Israel to defend itself.
We will always be there by your side.
The United States strongly supports Israel and its right to defend itself from Hamas, and that support is unwavering.
I wanted to ensure, is that still the case, that the administration has no red lines?
That is still the case.
Since October 7th, the United States government has provided billions in military aid to Israel and unwavering political and legal support, both domestically and internationally, in addition to direct military support. But as the Biden administration and the Democratic Party find themselves in a political crisis in the middle of an election,
across the globe, rising up for Palestine, this is the national performance of his soul. Keeping up his
It's a revolution where the youth and the students once more are on the front lines of this revolution. And everyone here to the community, you must come tomorrow, the day after, and the day after, because the students here will remain steadfast.
No guarantee, no land on the back now, no country, no form. Back to the peasant, to the falahin born. درب القوافي بنعرفها طفن ورود تلم تلم ربنا معبود راسمة صنع العهود وقت الحزم حنا الجنود حرب وسلم رغم عن حدود عنا حلم الغياب نستقبلها يا ابن العين يا ابن النهر يا ابن النبع يا ابن البحر ابن السمك والزنقة هاي الزقة وهاي احنا بنت العين بنت النهر بنت النبع بنت البحر بنت السمك والزنقة هاي الزقة وهاي احنا What's that soul in the 47? Shamble the soul in the 47. Find the fruit on the trees. Send it off to wherever you please. Make sure that the money comes back home. Back to the peasant, to the fellaheen born.
Fantasma de Yakir. Nobody can stop Palestine. We want our genocide to stop.
Do you know where your daughter is right now?
Right now, gotta be somewhere because the police start chasing all the students. They are threatening. If we don't leave the campus, we are gonna be arrested. But the students are so brave. Look at them. They don't want to leave the campus.
नेतन्याहू, इनके पैरों तले ज़मीन निकली हुई है, क्योंकि जो हकीकत टीवी ने आपको उस दिन खबर दी थी अब वो पूरी दुनिया में छा गई है। अमेरिका ने ऐलान कर दिया है, क्योंकि फौजें इस वक्त तैयार हो गई हैं, फोर्सेस यानी तैयार हैं इस वक्त नेतन्याहू को गिरफ्तार करने के लिए 123 ममालिक में। हुआ यह है कि इंटरनेशनल क्रिमिनल कोर्ट ने फैसला कर लिया है, वो इशू करने जा रहे वारंट्स, और अमेरिका ने कहा है कि अगर वारंट्स जारी हुए तो ये जंग फिर बड़े पैमाने पर चली जाएगी। और अमेरिका ने धमकी दी है, असल में तो इस वक्त इजराइल को बचाने के लिए बरतानिया और अमेरिका सामने आ गए हैं, तो उन्होंने धमकी दी है। नेतन्याहू ने रिक्वेस्ट की है अमेरिका से कि इमीडिएटली इस पर पाबंदी आयद करे, आईसीसी पर, इंटरनेशनल क्रिमिनल कोर्ट पर। 123 ममालिक में किसी भी जगह नेतन्याहू एंटर हुआ तो उसी वक्त वहां की फोर्सेस उसको गिरफ्तार करेंगे और गिरफ्तार करके वो नेदरलैंड पहुंचाएंगी। अब सूरत हाल ये पैदा हुई है कि उसके बाद इंटरनेशनल पाबंदियां लग जाएंगी और पूरी दुनिया में इसराइल आइसोलेट हो जाएगा। ये इतना बड़ा इनको झटका लगने जा रहा है।
I am your host, named bin Mohammed Rafi, and here is my YouTube channel, Zamir Universal. Moments just before the death of the world's greatest empires are really in history very, very painful, but for the keen observer and for the sake of continuity of knowledge, and I just mention few common features which occur before the death of very large empires like Roman Empire, like Ottoman Empire, like British Empire. And if you can go way back and you can even look at the Persian Empire and 5,000 years of that history, and then you can see the empire of the Pharaoh and dynasty there, and then even in the world you will see the many other like British Empire, and then in lately now people have suffered from the American Empire. Now you see the common features, and I'm talking of the living empires, are the greatest urge to subdue other people. Either you have to kill, tame, rape, murder their babies, convert them into your own views and religion. You adopt everything cruel, or you strangulate them financially, economically, culturally, religiously, take away all their freedom, cage them, imprison them, and blockade them, put thousands of their, as the recent example of this Zionist movement, in which for almost now a century they have kept the poor Palestinian in their own homeland in the prison. So just before death, just when you say that when a patient is about to die, the respiratory rate increases from 14, 15 to it reaches to 40, and then it becomes a chain stroke respiration, and then eventually the person gasps and dies. America is at the last stage, is now at the moment gasping and is about to die. Now, in very simple terms, to make you understand, I will let you listen to the speaker, and I am also going to put few of his other analysis on the superiority of Western civilization boasted about, and see how cruel, how criminal, how low and that civilization is, and there is no such thing and Western civilization, and so you can see that how West is really civilized. Every ill, every sin is committed there, every human rights violation is done there, everything dirty, filthy to subdue another nation or another country is there. Their resources are robbed and looted, their gold is dug and taken, and the people like that in the whole country of France, which has not even one single gold mine and has the largest gold reserve because he gets from one of the colonies in Africa, and takes away all the gold. And it's something, he says that you have to pay this for hundreds and years. And one of the ex-presidents of France said that if we do not have this $500 billion worth of gold, then the French economy will collapse and we will be the poorest European country on earth. It's the same way that you multiply it with thousands and millions is the America, which has robbed the resources of Middle East and Africa, and see the roads, the tunnels, all the bridges, all those F-35 or 15 or 16 or 17. All these things are actually the resources they have stolen and robbed. This robbery is continuing at the moment, but the world must hear this good news that they are at the last stage before death is their gasping now, and soon they will have hiccups and then the eyes will close and the empire will be dead forever. Now you don't have to wait for so long, and this time the graveyard of this dead empire will be in Gaza. All they have done to that and funded and financed that massacre and genocide is they have dug up their own grave. And you listen to this person and you decide for yourself.
The Western Empire is not spreading liberalism. They are crushing liberty, freedom, democracy everywhere they go. The United States has special ops forces, meaning intelligence and military operations, in more countries than they have embassies. The U.S. has carried out at least 469 military interventions since 1798, but more than half of those have been carried out in just the last 30 years. They are spreading neoliberalism, not liberalism. And these two ideologies couldn't be more different. And they're not spreading it by discourse and dialogue in the so-called marketplace of ideas. They're spreading it through force and violence on a scale unparalleled in human history. And you can go back as far as you want or as recently as you want. If you want to go as far as Nagasaki, Hiroshima, you can go there. If you want to go to slavery, you can go there. If you want to go to the genocide of the Native Americans, you can go there. And if you want to just talk more recently, you can talk about Iraq. You can talk about Afghanistan. You can talk about Syria. You can talk about Yemen. You can talk about drone attacks in Pakistan. You can talk about bombing the pharmaceutical factory in Sudan. And that's just against us. Forget about talking about Latin America in the 1970s, 1980s, and now. They're spreading it through military invasion, occupation, and intimidation, and through economic sabotage, bullying, and debt slavery. The Muslim world and the entire global South see it. They know it. They experience it. They are suffering from it. Nobody is fooled by the propaganda. The West is not teaching the world, certainly not the Muslim world, about the value of individual liberty or the sacredness of the individual or about the rule of law or any of the other principles that are associated with liberalism. We have to fight the West in order to establish these principles in our societies. And these are principles that we understood centuries before the Enlightenment. You must have had your head buried in the amber waves of grain if you actually imagine that the West invented or discovered the concept of individual rights and civil liberties and freedom. The people in the West are allowed to do as they please. They're allowed to fornicate, they're allowed to drink, they're allowed to commit sodomy, they're allowed to play games about what gender is, they're allowed to indulge in absolute moral relativism, precisely because they are inconsequential to those in power. Your only role in the society is to contribute to corporate profits, to be a consumer and to be a worker. That's all. Therefore, anything else you want to do with your life doesn't matter to anyone who matters. Liberalism is a euphemism for the complete irrelevance of the morality, the decency, or the refinement of the population, because you don't matter. If your immorality and your indecency is profitable, it's approved. Nobody cares about you being a good person because you don't have any power. And what you call liberalism, which is actually just the complete indifference of power to the lives of the population, yes, this has wrought havoc on the societies. And this havoc is profitable. And it helps to consolidate the power of those who possess power because the population...
When those who are occupied refuse to submit, when they continue to resist, we drop all pretense of our civilizing mission and unleash as in Gaza, an orgy of slaughter and destruction. We become drunk on violence. We kill with reckless ferocity. We become the beasts we accuse the oppressed of being. We expose the lie of our vaunted moral superiority. We expose the fundamental truth about Western civilization. We are the most ruthless and efficient killers on the planet. This alone is why we dominate the wretched of the earth. It has nothing to do with democracy or freedom or liberty. These are rights we never intend to grant to the oppressed. Honor, justice, compassion, and freedom are ideas that have no converts, Joseph Conrad reminds us. There are only people without knowing, understanding, or feelings who intoxicate themselves with words, repeat words, shout them out, imagining they believe them, without believing in anything else but profit, personal advantage, and their own satisfaction.
And those police are going after those students the same way that some IDF Neanderthal goes after a Palestinian child. It's stunning. They're body-slamming professors. America's most prestigious campuses have become occupied territories. And you can see, if you watch the videos, you can see just how much the police, the American police and security forces, have cooperation and collaboration with the Israeli police and security forces. There's no difference. They act the same. They trained each other. They act the same way. You know, Netanyahu said that what's happening on America's campuses reminds him of Nazi Germany. And he's right. He's right. It's just not the way he meant it. The security forces are acting just like the Nazis, cracking down on dissent, cracking down on the conscience of their own nation. That's just what they're doing. They're throttling the moral conscience of America. You know how there's that poem about the Nazis, how they came after the intellectuals and I said nothing. They came after the Jews and I said nothing, and now they come after me. Well, America, they came for the Palestinians and you said nothing. They came for the protesters in the streets and you said nothing. And now they're coming for your own best and brightest, your own Ivy League bourgeois ruling class children. I told you before, America's empire is going to die in the rubble of Gaza, and that's just what's happening. Oh, this is a serious problem for you. Those students are the talent pool for your future. They're the ones that you're going to hand over the reins of power to. You trained them up for that. And you can tell that just by how different their protests are. They're not rioting. They're not burning down police stations. They're not looting a CVS. They're not making crazy demands like people who have no experience dealing with politics or with the authorities and so on. No. They're demanding very reasonable demands. They're demanding divestment by their universities from Israel. Very simple. They're protesting in an organized and a disciplined way. They won't even let just anybody talk to the media. They have their own media team, you see? These kids are from the professional class. They probably got a workflow chart and a human resources department for the protesters. These young people have been primed to take over the system. And instead of taking over the system, they're taking the system down. I'm telling you, you're in a crisis right now. America's in a crisis. You know, I saw some politicians said that there appears to be a foreign element behind what's going on the universities. You know, like a foreign power that's instigating and agitating. And yes, there is. And we all know which foreign power that is. We all know which foreign country is stoking this crisis. And it sure isn't Russia. And it sure isn't China. No. Well, if you wondered why those kids want their schools to divest from Israel, just look at how their schools are treating them because they dared to ask for that. Those universities are doing the bidding of Israel, not the bidding of China or the bidding of Russia. They're not even doing the bidding of those kids' parents and those kids' families. And your police are doing the same. So yes, there is a foreign power behind all this, and it's precisely that foreign power that the students want their schools to extricate themselves from, and it's very obvious to everyone why. Couldn't be more obvious. It's as obvious as a baton cracked on the side of your head. Look, on these campuses, like in Harvard and the Ivy League campuses and so on, you had demonstrations against Russia and in favor of Ukraine. You had that at the Ivy League schools. You had protests against China over Xinjiang and so on. No zip ties, no arrests, no 550 kids going to jail. No. But the moment they start demanding that their schools stop partnering with Israel over a genocide, and all hell breaks loose. There's no mystery about what foreign country is driving that. I mean, you're having protests at MIT. Do you have any idea what MIT is? MIT is basically a wing of the Pentagon. It's an incubator for future policymakers at the State Department. But, you know, the Zionists should have seen this coming. I said it before. They should have seen the writing on the wall in 2020 when this same generation was going around knocking down statues of slave owners and colonizers. They let you know how they feel about that, what their stance is about that. They want nothing to do with colonization. They want to disavow that history. So if they want to distance themselves and disown colonization in their history, what makes you think that they'd be fine with being associated with colonization that's going on today? Because that's all Zionism is. It's nothing but Western colonization, and it always has been. This generation didn't have a chance to try to oppose slavery and colonization a century ago or 2 centuries ago. So they just pulled down all the icons of slavery and colonization, everything that they could find. They tore it down. But right now, today, they have the opportunity to actively oppose and fight against present-day colonization in Palestine, and that's what they're doing. I mean, seriously, how could you not see this coming? Were they subtle in 2020? Of course this generation is going to fight you. Of course they're going to reject Zionism. Of course they're going to oppose genocidal colonization. This is their chance. This is their chance to prove that their anger and their guilt about America's crimes in the past, that their anger was genuine. This is their chance to prove to you, to themselves, and to the world that they meant it in 2020 when they knocked down all those statues. This is their chance to manifest the virtue that they were signaling 4 years ago, and that's what they're doing. And the knee-jerk reaction of your so-called civilization, your so-called culture, that's so addicted to colonization and so addicted to brutality, their knee-jerk reflex response is to turn vicious, to turn ugly, to turn oppressive and violent against anyone who's trying to cure them of that addiction. But this time, you're attacking your own future leaders. You're attacking your own precious babies of the elite. And this is just how wild and incurable your addiction is. This is just how morally bankrupt and how corrupt your so-called society, your so-called civilization is. You're willing to sacrifice your own young, your own heirs to power, your own successors to the imperial throne because of your insatiable thirst for the blood of the colonized. You're too drunk on the blood of your victims to know that you are too drunk to lead anymore. These students are trying to tell you, friends don't let friends commit genocide. But then you just turn your blind fury against them. I'm telling you, your power structure is cannibalistic. We're witnessing an American meltdown in real time. It's a tectonic shift. The epicenter is in Gaza, but the shock waves are shaking the foundation of American power. Every time the Israelis launch a missile, I'm telling you, it lands in the United States. And if things keep going the way they're going, before too long, there isn't going to be anything left standing in that country.
यूनिवर्सल टेलीविजन को सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूलें। उसके बाद बेल बटन पे क्लिक करें और अपने कमेंट्स के सेक्शन में अपने कीमती जो ख्यालात का इजहार ज़रूर